Hello everyone. Through this video, let me explain about a transformer. Transformer, unlike other electrical machines, is a static device which transfers electrical energy from one circuit to another by the principle of electromagnetic induction. So we connect alternating source of power to one circuit, and across the other circuit we get the same alternating source of power with constant frequency, but the voltage level could be altered when we use a transformer. As mentioned earlier, the working principle of transformer is Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, which states that the magnitude of voltage is directly proportional to the rate of change of flux. So let's explain by connecting it to an alternating voltage source. As the primary is connected to an alternating voltage source, this primary coil is excited, and because of that, a flux is generated. This flux is also alternating, and whenever flux associated with a coil is changing with respect to time, so here it is alternating with respect to time, and EMF is induced across the secondary. So the flux cuts the secondary, and as this flux is also alternating in nature, because of this an EMF is induced in the secondary, and thus power is transferred from one circuit, that is the primary circuit, to the secondary circuit using a transformer. Now let's discuss the necessity for having a transformer. So we have a transformer in order to transmit power from one location to another location. And generally, when transmitting power through the lines, if the voltage is very, very low, then because of that, we might have more losses along the transmission line. And in order to reduce the loss, we go for high voltage transmission. So voltage is stepped up at the transmission end using step up transformers, and at the power distribution end, we will be using voltages at the rating of 230 volts single phase. So here we are supposed to step down the voltage, and the same transformers are used to step down the voltage at the distribution end. Over to the construction of transformers. The transformer circuit is classified into three types, and we have the tanks and accessories as the fourth major component. So we have the magnetic circuit, which consists of the core, limbs, yoke, and the damping structure. And we have the electric circuit where our current is going to pass, and they are the primary and the secondary winding. And the dielectric circuit, which offers insulation between the different parts of the transformer. And apart from that, we have tanks and accessories. We have accessories like conservator, breather, bushings, and cooling tubes, etc. So let's see what they are. And from this, we have jotted down the major components of a transformer. So this is a transformer that we could see. So here we have the cooling tubes, and if we want to force in oil or drain oil, we have this drain off valve, and then we have the tank, main tank covered, and then we have terminals. So this is a three-phase transformer. So we have the bushings using which wires are taken out. So here we have the terminals or the bushings, and this is the conservator tank, and here we have the breather. So now let's see in detail the purpose of every part. On the magnetic circuit, we had the core. So on the core, we have the magnetic flux being established. So on this core, we wind the winding, and because of the current flowing in the winding, a flux will be generated, and for the flux, a low reluctance path is offered by this core. And hence, in order to offer a low reluctance path, silicon steel is used. And we use laminations in order to avoid losses due to the formation of eddy current. Based on the lamination, we categorize the transformer as either shell type or core type, and this is how we have the laminations. First, if we have an E and I lamination, the next set of lamination will be altered. So we'll have E at the bottom and I at the top. And this is how they are being stacked together. And that forms the complete core. And between the laminations, we are supposed to provide some insulation, and that insulation is provided by either paper or enameled insulation or enameled copper with paper insulation. This selection of insulator depends on the type of application or the voltage level of the transformer. And we also use oil as insulating material in case of high voltages. Oil is selected as an insulating material because of these following properties. Because of its high dielectric strength, and it's free from organic acid, and hence it prevents damage to the conductor and insulator. Low viscosity, and it's free from sludging, and it is also good. It also has a good resistance to emulsion, and okay, so these are the properties based on which an oil is chosen for insulating a transformer. And we have oil. Oil is there within the main tank, and hence, in order to maintain the level of oil always to be full within the tank, we have a conservator. So conservator is mount on the top of the transformer, and we have a small pipe connecting it to the main tank. And in order to maintain the level of oil, we have an oil gauge attached to the conservator, and we always see the oil level there, and in case if it is below the permissible height, then an alarm is blown. And apart from that, between the conservator and the main tank, we have one relay known as the Buchholz relay. Buchholz relay is a gas operated relay, and it gives warning before a fault is going to occur. Okay, so even before a fault could occur, if we could anticipate a fault due to the presence of bubbles in the oil, or due to the reduction in the level of oil, then Buchholz relay helps us to identify that. And the oil should be always free from moisture, and hence to the oil conservator we have a breather. Breather is usually filled with silica gel or calcium chloride. And as I mentioned earlier, we need to provide connection to the windings that we have inside the transformer, right? So we take in and take out the connections, electrical connections within the transformer through these bushings or the terminals. And in case of voltage up to 33 kV, we use ordinary porcelain. And if we have voltage above 33 kV, then we have oil filled type bushing or capacitor type bushing. And it is fitted to the transformer tank. And based on these advantages, we usually don't go for a single phase transformer. Instead, we use 3-phase transformers at the transmission and distribution end because of the following advantages. So instead of having just one set of winding within the core, it is much easier to have 3 sets of winding within the transformer core, and hence less space, and we use minimum amount of core. So the weight is being reduced, cost is reduced, and it's easy to handle, and it could be easily transported. So because of these advantages, we usually prefer to go for a 3-phase transformer. And now let me explain the EMF equation of transformer. So let us consider that there are N1 number of turns in the primary winding, N2 number of turns in the secondary winding, and let phi m be the maximum flux that is generated by the core. So flux generated because of the alternating current is also alternating. So we have an alternating flux here, and this alternating flux takes a maximum value of phi m. And this phi m, okay, so from the flux value goes from 0 to phi m within a duration of T/4. And hence, we write the rate of change of flux to be phi m divided by T/4. And we know 1 by T is frequency, and hence we write 4f phi m. And now this is the rate of change of flux, okay, or this is the EMF that is induced at an average rate. And we know when an average value is multiplied by the form factor, we get the RMS value. So we multiply the average EMF with the form factor of an AC or the sinusoidal waveform, which is 1.11. So on multiplication, we have the RMS value of EMF generated to be 4.44 F into phi m. So this is the RMS value of EMF produced per turn. So here, in case of primary, we have N1 number of turns, and in case of secondary, we have N2 number of turns. So on direct multiplication with N1, we get the value of EMF induced in primary. And similarly, on multiplying with N2, on multiplying this term with N2, we get the value of EMF induced along the secondary. And when we talk about an ideal transformer, if V1 is the voltage that is supplied to the primary, the induced value of voltage along the primary will be equal to the supply voltage of the primary, and the same holds good for the secondary winding also. So the terminal voltage of secondary, if it is V2, that is equal to the value of EMF induced along the secondary winding only in case of an ideal transformer. But in practice, we don't have an ideal transformer. Always there is some voltage drop, and hence E1 will not be equal to V1 and E2 will not be equal to V2 in practice. Now let me introduce you to a constant, which is the voltage transformation ratio. So voltage transformation ratio, because based on this value K1, we categorize the transformer as a step-up transformer and a step-down transformer. Step-up transformer is one where E2 is greater than E1. So the secondary side voltage is greater than the primary side voltage. And in case of step-down transformer, it's the vice versa. Okay. And from this equation, it could be seen that the ratio of E1 by N1 or E2 by N2 is a constant. And this constant is the voltage transformation ratio. Okay. So now, let us go to the losses that are occurring in a transformer. So there are three types of losses, or the losses are categorized into three types. So we have the core, where the core is repeatedly magnetized, demagnetized, and we know, okay, so whenever you magnetize, okay, so we have magnetization happening and then demagnetization happening. So because of this, okay, so this is the hysteresis loop, and this represents the amount of loss that is occurring because of magnetization and demagnetization. So we have hysteresis loss, and we also have eddy current loss that are going to occur in our core. And the other name for core loss is iron loss. And again, we also have one more loss occurring along the winding. So we have the winding that is going to carry current, right? So the winding is made of copper, and hence the loss that occurs in the winding is stated as the copper loss. And we have few other factors that are going to contribute to the loss that occurs in our transformer, and we just bring all those arbitrary losses under a single banner, which is stray losses. So these are the different losses that could occur in a transformer. So we have losses, and hence input power will not be always equal to the output power. And the equation goes as input power is equal to output power plus losses, and hence efficiency of a transformer output power divided by input power is always less than 100. And as mentioned earlier, we know the applications of transformer. So we could use a transformer to step up and step down either voltage or current. And in case of electronic circuits, in order to prevent DC, we use a transformer as an isolator. And based on the type of core, as mentioned earlier, we categorize the transformer into a core type and a shell type transformer. So this is a core type transformer and this is a shell type transformer. So we have the limbs, right? So on the limbs, we have the winding present along a core type transformer. But whereas in the shell type transformer, we have winding only along the central limb. And based on the voltage transformation ratio, we categorize it as the step up and step down voltage transformer, step up transformer and step down transformer. And based on the type of service it is rendering, we categorize transformer as power transformer that we use at the transmission end, distribution transformer that we use at the distribution end, and instrument transformer is a special type of transformer which is used to step up and step down voltage in case of having a meter. Okay. So if we have a wire here and if we want to measure the value of current here along the transmission line, we know the order of current along the transmission line is going to be of kiloampere. And we don't have a ready-made meter that is used to measure current in kiloampere. And hence, we use a current transformer to step down the value of current. So after we step down the value of current from kiloampere range to ampere, we could use an ordinary ammeter to measure the value of current. So we could use instrument transformer in order to step down the value of current. So that's a current transformer. And if we are going to step down the voltage, and if you're going to measure it using a voltmeter, okay, such transformers are known as the potential transformers. So these potential transformers step down the voltage to a level that could be measured by an voltmeter. And auto transformer is one which is used as a variac. That is, an auto transformer is having a variable point, so which could be adjusted and the value of output voltage is varied according to the position of this pointer. So that's an auto transformer. So these instrument transformers are extensively used for measurement and experimentation purposes. And then based on the cooling that we adopt, we classify transformers as the dry type transformer and oil immersed transformer. So in dry type transformer, we use natural air or self air, which is used to cool the transformer. And in case of forced air, we use a blast of air, that is, air is forced towards the transformer, and that's air forced or air blast type transformer. And then we have oil immersed, wherein we have oil natural, air natural. So both oil and air, they are not forced, they are just there with its natural atmospheric pressure and temperature. Whereas here in this case, oil will not be forced, it will be there. Okay, so transformer is immersed in oil, whereas air is forced towards the transformer. So that is ONAF. And here we have OF, AF, that is oil, air, both are forced. And then we have oil, natural, water forced, and oil forced, water forced. So let's see them with a diagrammatic representation. So ONAF, oil, natural, air forced transformers are used for about 600 MVA. So this 600 MVA denotes the power rating of the transformer. So this method is used up to 60 MVA transformer. So as you could see here, we have fans here and the air is forced. So oil is not forced. Instead, as you cool this oil, okay, so this oil that is cooled here just moves here, and okay, the hot oil that is present here is forced into the radiator. So that's how cooling is going to occur here. Thus, all the heat that is within this tank is cooled by means of forcing air. And here this is, you don't have any fans here at the radiator. So natural air that falls on the radiator is going to cool here the system. So here we could use this type of cooling for transformers up to 30 MVA. And this is oil forced, air forced. So you have a pump here in order to force the oil into this heat exchanger. So we have a fan here. So air is also forced and oil is also forced into this heat exchanger. And oil forced, water forced is where we have oil forced inside, and heat exchanger earlier had a fan, right? But here in this case, we are going to let in water through this tubes. Okay, so here water just flows in and flows out, and thus it cools the oil that is going to be here within these tubes. And based on the type of supply, we categorize the transformer as single phase transformer. So you could see only one set of, okay, I call it one set, one primary, one secondary. So I call it one set of windings. But here you could see two sets of windings in case of three-phase transformer. And depending on how the three windings are connected, we categorize the three-phase transformer as star, 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 delta, delta, star, and delta, delta. So as you could see here, R, Y, B, R, Y, B. Okay, so you have the windings, and all the three windings, one terminal of all the three windings are connected together. So all the three windings are connected to one common point called neutral, and this is a star or Y configuration. Whereas here, if you see, the windings are connected end to end, right? So you have a winding here. Okay. So the windings are connected end to end. So this is called as the delta configuration. And now let's see what happens if we go for a star-star configuration first. So both primary and the secondary are connected in star connection, and we consider this to be the most economical connection in case if you're going to use small current rating high voltage transformers. And there occurs a phase shift of 30° between the phase and line voltage because they are connected in star configuration. And it works well in case if we have balanced load. And this is one major advantage of having a star-star connection. And also another configuration, another advantage is that we have the neutral point. If we don't connect the neutral point to ground, then the potential of the neutral is fluctuating, and you call it the floating neutral. And in case if you're going to use star-star configuration for an unbalanced load, then we have to ground the star point of or the neutral point. So it is also known as the star point. So we have to ground the neutral point, or we have to connect the star point of the generator and the star point of the load together. So in spite of neutral, we have the third harmonic present here in the alternator, and that's one major disadvantage. So this is the diagrammatic representation of star-star connection. And the next connection that we are going to discuss is the delta-delta configuration. So one winding is connected to another winding, which is in turn connected to the other winding. So this forms the delta configuration. So primary, secondary, both are connected in delta, and this delta-delta connection is chosen if we are supposed to carry large current on low voltages. And here, the third harmonic current is going to be present only within the closed path or the delta winding, and we don't find the harmonic current along the lines. And hence you don't have any distortion of voltage in the secondary, and it also permits unbalanced loading, because whatever harmonic current you have, it is going to be circulated here within the winding, and your lines are free from harmonics, and hence it's okay even if we load the transformer unevenly. And the only disadvantage is that this is suitable only for 3-phase 3-wire system. And if you have a 4-wire system, we don't have a neutral here, right? So we cannot pull any 4th wire from this configuration. And now to the mix of star and delta. So if the primary is star connected and secondary is delta connected, mostly this type of transformer is used to step down the voltage at the distribution end. So we use such transformers at the distribution side, and these are the advantages and the limitations of using a star delta configuration. And delta star connection, it is used to step up, that is, we use it at the transmission end. And here again, because of the presence of delta, we don't have any distortion or the third harmonic component, and harmonics are suppressed. So these are certain advantages and or applications of a delta star configuration. And there is one limitation wherein the secondary voltage will not be in phase with the primary voltage. So that's one major disadvantage. But owing to this disadvantage, we use them as a step-up transformer at the beginning of the substation, where we step up the voltage, and also it is commonly used in industries and at commercial locations. And this type of transformer is especially used near the generating station in order to immediately step up the voltage that is generated by the generating station. So we call it the generator transformer. Practice problems to get a good understanding. Thank you.